people like him, people like Andre Ryu. So how Andre Ryu checks the sound, right? He has a golf cart. Okay. Very strong. So he's from a city called Maastricht in Amsterdam. Oh, sorry, in the
Hmm.
Netherlands. What he
Hmm.
does is, when the sound check is going on, वो पूरा पीछे जाएगा अपनी golf cart से. वो ना golf cart पे घूमता रहता है as the orchestra is rehearsing. He
Hmm.
makes sure that everyone hears exactly the same because
Wow.
that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Khayalepulao podcast. Today, I have with me Dhruv. Dhruv is a really good friend of mine, and हम इंटरेस्ट शेयर करते हैं म्यूजिक में, बट हमारा जो सुनने का जॉनर है वो बहुत अलग है. बट वी आर समहाउ कनेक्टेड. So we will discuss about music and life and a lot of things. So welcome, Dhruv, on the podcast.
Thanks, Aditya. Glad to be here and looking forward to discussing about music.
Awesome. So, Dhruv, yaar, देखो, when I met you, I knew that you love to listen to jazz. That's what I heard. And then when we started
Ah,
discussing different types of music, this and that, तो वो jazz से rock, R&B, इधर उधर से जाके it came to orchestra. And I found it very interesting that somebody, and I'm saying that without any judgment, but somebody who's as young as you are, listening and understanding orchestra music,
hmm,
it's a great feature in itself, and I was very impressed to listen to that. तो मैंने बोला यार चलो, let's do a
thanks.
podcast about it. Why not? Let's talk about it. मुझे भी कुछ सीखने मिल जाएगा उसमें. So before we talk about the the music and the genre itself, I wanted to know from you, yeah, where did that interest came from? Like,
Ah, yes, that's a very question that I get very frequently. So I'll tell you,
yeah,
the roots of these kind of music and interest, it comes down from my cousins, my dad's side of
uh-huh,
cousins.
uh-huh,
And the eldest one, and it's a very funny story. So the eldest one,
hmm,
he kind of introduced us to, of course, some of the common bands that we used to listen to, Linkin Park and all that stuff is fine, yeah.
yeah,
But he is, so he's into films and videos and all that stuff, and uh, he's a he watches a lot of films, and not just films, it's music as well, which is a very
okay,
important aspect of it, right? So right from, I don't know, there's a movie called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was made in the 1930s or 40s.
hmm,
Uh, Very famous actor called Dick Van Doyle, and so that coming from that, from Spider-Man to Dark Knight, to all those different aspects, right?
yeah,
He introduced us to the world of soundtracks and
hmm,
compositions in soundtracks. And soundtracks are a very different kind of genre, and its significance, it holds a lot of significance when it comes to movies, right?
right,
The emotional aspect is, I would say, it comes to a movie, of course, there's script, there's sound and all that stuff, but music has a very big impact. You see movies like Lord of the Rings, you see movies like Stellar, you see any type of movies, right? So
hmm,
that it came down from that, and it came down from that to my other elder cousin, and then like we were close from childhood. That's how
right,
it came into being. Right, the roots came from there, but it then branched out into similar stuff and similar
uh-huh,
kind of thing. So from early age on, we were always into this kind of classic rock and uh, old style of music, and
uh-huh,
generally, so orchestral music branched out from, I would say, the film soundtrack genre, right? And it's a very
okay,
funny story that, I mean, it's
uh,
a bit off topic. So my cousin, the eldest one, who had this interest, it came from his friend and like
ah,
his other friend from college, and actually his friend's brother from college. And
hmm,
we recently met. I met his
okay,
friends at a bachelor's party. So, and we were just thinking how things come into a full circle. It started from someone, and then you see after, I would say, good 15, 20 years, and we met.
yeah,
And then I connected with the main person who the music, like who was the main originator of the interest of music. And I'm sure he must be influenced by someone else, right?
Definitely,
But
yeah.
for us, it came from there. And another genre that people get weird out when I tell them is I listen to orchestra, I listen to country, and I listen sometimes. I used to listen. I was a big metalhead. I used to listen to a lot of metal
Oh,
music,
that's good, yeah.
and so that's how these genres came into being. But in like from the question point of view, yeah, it came out from the film genre, and that's how we branched right into the orchestral field.
That's awesome, man. Acha, one question on a lighter note before we begin. जैसे
Uh-huh.
in suits, Harvey quizzes, do you know this, and they discuss a lot of things. Do you guys also do that?
Um, मैंने देखा नहीं है Suits honestly. पूरा मैंने
Oh,
clips
okay,
देखे
fine,
हैं.
sorry. Okay. So do you like guys quiz each other on ये किसका म्यूजिक है, ये कहाँ से आया,
Uh,
इसका
well,
फेमस क्या है?
uh,
या
हाँ, मतलब हम सुनते हैं. We do a lot of recommendations between us.
हाँ हाँ,
Because now what happens is because we've all branched out into own kind of music, so there's a lot of recommendations that take place, when it comes to
राइट
like we'll go down, we'll talk about vinyls as well. But when it comes to film scores, orchestral music, classic music, like they listen and watch 100 times more than me, the types of movies and music that they listen to.
राइट
But and they're more critical about the stuff that uh, they listen to, right? But it's a lot of recommendations rather than quiz. It's a lot of recommendations that we keep sharing. We've got shared playlists as well
दैट्स
when it comes
ऑसम.
to music. So yeah, that's how we keep connected to each other in terms of music. That's a shared interest, and now I've found those kind of people in
हाँ,
Ireland as well.
या.
It's limited, but that's how I figured it out. There are these kind of interest kind of music, and we'll talk about it more right now.
Mm, that's awesome. So let's jump into it. Tell me what is orchestra and film background music, and how is it different from a rock or a pop or an R&B?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for that, let's go a bit back, not lots. Let's go a bit back into history of how orchestral music came into being. Okay,
Mm, mm,
and who influenced it? What was it? Right? We'll go back. I mean, I'll make it quick, but we'll go back to the 1700s, right? Orchestral music, as a commercial thing, came into
mm,
being from the early 1700s from Mozart. Okay. He was the
okay.
originator of gaining popularity within people about orchestral music, what it is, right?
Mm, mm,
He died very young, but his music is, I would say, so. And so, one more thing, orchestral music roots and origination is from Austria, from
okay.
Vienna.
Mm,
Germany is, of course, like Mozart, I think, was born in Germany. It was no, he was in Austria, it was Beethoven. But that area, so Vienna is the hub and the originator of all kind of orchestral music. Okay. And so that's how Mozart started a very big commercial thing about um, what do you say, music. And each orchestra, right? The orchestral piece, like the famous ones, they are they have a hidden reason for being made. Now, I'll tell you,
mm,
so one of my famous artists, he's called Johann Strauss, and so his son, Johann Strauss too, he was also a very, very famous orchestral player, again from Vienna, right? And I
mm,
think he's a
mm,
bit less commercially known as compared to Mozart and Beethoven because these are very, general known and the tunes are very known. But
yeah.
one of the most famous tune that was ever given was by this person. His name is Johann Strauss. It's called the Blue Danube. We have all heard that tune. I'm very, very pretty sure because ये ट्यून ना यार इतनी मूवीज में और उसमें भी डाल चुके हैं. बहुत
हाँ.
फेमस ट्यून है. And it's that tune is named after a river. Danube is a very big river that starts, I think, in Germany, in near Munich, and it goes down to Vienna, Hamburg, sorry, uh, Czech Republic, and I think near the Russian countries as well, and then it goes into the Black Sea, right? So
Mm,
that river. the orchestral piece that was made, it was made to uplift people of Austria, of Vienna, because I think they had lost the Austrian-Prussian War. It was something like that. That is
Okay.
a significant significance
Wow.
that is. And orchestra music, I'll tell you, Aditya, is
Hmm. Hmm.
I think is why is it a very different kind of music, right?
Huh, huh.
एक तो देखो उसमें there is no words. It's all instruments. Now instruments, of course, people say it. Classical Indian classical music is also instrument to hear all these things. But कुछ तो है ना orchestral music में और वो क्या है कि
Hmm.
you listen to it. What I believe is if you listen to it, if someone else listen to it, I
Hmm.
like you. I'm an extremely big fan of Johann Strauss too.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not a big fan of Mozart. I'm not a big fan of Beethoven because उसका music ना connect नहीं करता है.
Hmm.
Orchestral music is a very personalized thing
Yeah.
which triggers emotions in you. That's what
Hmm.
I think. Those emotions can be anything. It can be it can be sympathy, it can be empathy, it can be as simple as it can give you goosebumps out of nowhere. I'll tell
Sure.
you a lot of peace. When you listen to it, it gives you focus. It gives you a lot of goosebumps. I'll tell you. I don't know why. There's no reason to it. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when you listen to, there are very particular few pieces that I listen to. So and I would definitely recommend people to listen to John Strauss. One of the famous pieces is called Des Blue Danube. He's got second was someone else, but he recreated it. And there's Tales of the Vienna Blood. It sounds weird, but it's a very beautiful, very, very beautiful piece. Um, so his music is something that is very close to me. I don't know why. यार ये ना
Sure.
बहुत नेचुरल चीज है जो क्लोज होती है तो
Huh, huh, huh.
ऑर्केस्ट्रा एंड I mean it's my dream. I mean Vienna is one city I haven't visited for a lot of reasons. I want to visit that city. But that's what I say. So I'll tell you, there's a very famous orchestral player called Tchaikovsky. He's Polish. Okay, Bach, another one. He's Polish, right? Sub Tchaikovsky ke, I'll tell you, I've listened to a lot of pieces, but उसका सिर्फ एक piece है. It's called concert number one in B flat minor. It's a very particular piece. It's piece of half an hour of 30 minutes. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
30 minutes.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
बस एक वो पीस है यार जो ना जो इफेक्ट करता है मुझे तो
Okay.
बहुत ही डिफरेंट पीस है दैट्स व्हाट आई वुड एंड आई वुड
Right.
डेफिनेटली टेल पीपल please listen to this kind of music. ये बहुत ही so it's very I would say not parallel or I would not say they clash, but I would say they can be called parallel. They can be called side by side. So Indian classical music is also on a
Yeah.
similar thing. These kind of music मेरे को technicalities तो नहीं पता है Indian
Hmm.
classical की इतनी, but
Hmm.
I know
Hmm.
that kind of music also affects people who know music
Sure.
like you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Sure.
it's a very emotional triggering orchestra stuff. And I mean we can go down the road if you want to talk about how orchestra feels live, because I can again go
Definitely.
that's a different question.
But before that,
Yeah,
I would want to ask you, like, is there a way that we understand orchestra music? Like you said, एक तो होता है like you feel it and you
yeah,
connect through
yeah, yeah,
feelings, right? But
yeah, yeah,
not every time you're open to feel. You're not open to say कि
yeah,
यार
yeah,
अच्छा
correct.
ये मुझे feel हो रहा है या connect हो रहा है. Not every
हाँ,
time that happens. Is there a way to understand to say कि okay, this piece is trying to say this, or this section, this piece is about sadness, this is love, this is happiness.
yeah.
How do you understand orchestra music?
So there's one more thing that I would say when you talk about sadness and all those different aspects, right? That's true. But
Hmm.
see, some
Hmm.
of the pieces they have meaning behind what it says. There are
Hmm.
so there's a very famous piece called Swan Lake, which is
Hmm.
by Tchaikovsky. Sorry, yeah, it's by Tchaikovsky, I think, if I'm not wrong. Um,
Okay.
that uses a particular kind of instrument. I'm not sure. That instrument is is usually depicted, or the solo of that instrument is for sadness. So different
Hmm.
orchestras have, like you were saying, yeah, it has different pieces of instruments in it. So, of course, you've got saxophones, you've got violins, you've got cellos, and all that. You've got pianos. So, all those different aspects are linked to different, emotions. So, uh, what I've read, because I, to be honest, I don't know how music, how pieces, how instruments are played, right? But the way violin is played, right? Again, Jon Spross, if I
Yeah.
talk about him, he plays violins and cellos in a very happy way. I
Hmm.
would say 7 out of 10 his pieces, the way
Hmm.
they play, right? I know because I don't know the technicalities of the notes in it, but I
It's
know the
okay.
way they play. They try to, how do you say? They try to send
Uh,
motivation, happiness in them. Most
yeah.
of them celebration. So Jon Spross is known for celebrations, music a lot,
Okay.
happiness, celebration. He's got some sad pieces as well, but that is one thing. So similarly, um,
Hmm.
violins and cellos, how they're played, I'm sure the
Sure.
notes that they play, they trigger different warnings played through, and of course the conductors and the pieces written, they play more of an impact of how the pieces needs to impact the audience. To be honest, I
Sure.
don't exactly know the technicalities of it, but that's
Huh.
something that I've felt and read about how these pieces are played.
Okay. So in music, there's this concept, and this is the like the very basic, the first day lesson in the music,
Yeah,
जिसको बोलते हैं majors and minors हम सीखते हैं, right? तो
yeah, 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 yeah,
majors happy, minors are sad.
yeah.
ये ऐसे हम
Okay,
सीखते हैं ठीक है so
sure.
anyway we play or anyway you see a piece or any song which has a minor bass ठीक है
Yeah,
that tends to be sad versus a major
yeah.
is
Okay.
generally happy that way
हाँ
तो
हाँ हाँ.
if you have a lot of minors तो तुम blues भी देखोगे तो उसमें वैसे रहेंगे है ना you'll have a lot of
Yeah.
minor stuff going on तो I think that is a reason, but it's very technical to
हाँ.
understand major, minor क्या होता है and everything. I thought there is
No,
some
but
other. Uh,
that's a very interesting thing, and that's another question I get asked is, yeah, I actually don't know the technicalities of how music is read. Yet,
okay.
orchestral
Yeah.
music is still, and orchestral and I would say movie soundtracks and all these pieces are still so listened and close to me. How does that
Yeah.
happen? I'm like, I mean, you call it, if I'm even talking about an air, these things are, some things honestly come very natural to you.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's about it.
That's interesting. So when we talk about live performance versus recorded ones, what is the
Oh yeah.
difference? Why are people crazy about listening to a live orchestra? Why can't they just YouTube?
That's a very, and I'll tell you one thing. There are two sides of people that I've met. One is
Okay.
not, I'm not talking about orchestras, but generally concerts. One set of people are actually like, यार concert में क्या है मतलब ये तो घर पे भी सुन सकते हैं.
Uh,
And the other set is people like me who are crazy about concerts, who go to concerts. Look, I tell this to people all the time. It is honestly, of course, I can listen to that piece of music offline. So there's no doubt about it. It is just about the atmosphere and feeling that music.
sure.
Look, आप earphones लगा रहे हो, and I will talk about this, the vinyl stuff as well. These are all very connected. आप earphones लगा रहे हो, you're listening to a music in a room. ठीक है, that's good. But when you actually listen and feel music, right?
Hmm.
You go to a place, you see people creating that music
Hmm.
live. I think it's a
Hmm.
very difficult thing to do. That's what I feel. And
Yeah.
especially, okay, so now when it comes to orchestral music, right?
Hmm.
It needs to be so perfect, Aditya, I'm telling you. And especially when you're performing this um in front of, I would say, even a small crowd or a large crowd.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
what happens is there's a particular way orchestra music is heard. Okay. There's a very famous artist called Andre Rieu.
Hmm.
He's 74, 75 now, that guy.
Hmm.
And he plays just Jon Strauss music. So his tour is called Andre Rieu
Hmm.
and his Jon Strauss orchestra. It's like that. And the
Okay.
way he conducts the music and the way he conducts, he tells, and people know. So as simple as the conductor, when they enter, of course, the whole orchestra gets up, they take a bow to the audience, and then they sit, and then they start playing the piece. And after every piece I'm talking about, so every what 7 minutes, 10 minutes, of course, some are longer, it's fine.
Hmm.
The entire orchestra, they stand up, they bow to the audience.
Oh, wow.
It's a thank you. It's a thank you. It's a thank you for listening and respecting. I would say that's a very very important aspect. Music, because okay,
Hmm.
concerts are good. I'm talking about live bands. That's fine. They play. That's fine. But orchestra, as you all know, it's it brings a lot of people together
Hmm.
in an orchestra. You see the number of people sitting in an orchestra. So the
Hmm. Hmm.
coordinations, the feel of it, and to make the audience feel that it's a very very difficult thing to get that done.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fantastic thing that orchestra music does, is that the bow thing, the respect thing. I think uh, it's fantastic. It's a very, and when I witnessed that for the first time, I was like, "कि क्या हो रहा है? मतलब ये क्यों है?" And then I read about it. I
Right. Huh.
mean, it was that, and yeah, it was the difficulty in conducting. I mean, you would have seen conductors, they sweat. I mean, उनको देखा है कि मतलब वो कुछ कर नहीं रहे होते, हमें लगता है कि दे आर नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, बट देर जजिंग। मतलब उनके कान हर तरफ, हर टाइप, आई नो कि तुम्हारे जैसे तुम स्केल्स बोल रहे हो, एंड जस्ट इमेजिन व्हेन यू हैव टू कोऑर्डिनेट डिफरेंट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स टुगेदर, so the amount of
Conductor.
mental energy that takes,
Huh.
it's
Conductor is that
it's a different,
this guy.
the guy, yeah, the guy,
Okay.
तो ये करता है.
Okay. Cool.
So
Okay.
this is
Huh.
one of the most important. It's the most. I would say it's one of the most difficult parts to play, because he's the one who's coordinating everything. अगर um, जो आगे बैठा है उसको कंडक्टर बताता है, like of course the talk, of course, but he has one job, or he or she has one job to play that piece. But it's conductor's job to get that synchronized, and
Okay.
that's very very. I think it's one of the most difficult things to do. And I'll always say this: if someone is going to see an orchestra, please, even if you're not, अगर समझ नहीं आ रहा है, it can be an Indian orchestra as well. I'm not talking about just Viennese orchestra. It can be any type of orchestra or music pieces that there is. If you're getting bored, yeah, uh, as a sign of respect, don't get up till the piece is over. Because
Yes.
I've seen people that do that, and it's a very, I don't like it. It's a very disrespectful thing.
Yes.
um, when the music is being played, right? When it's being conducted, do not get up or leave or whatever it is. Respect
Yeah.
that music and just stay till that piece is over. So these kind of things are very, I don't know if I don't think it's a dying art, because जितना मैंने देखा है, there are huge orchestras that take place. Andre Ryu
Yes.
is one of the guys. Oh my God, I mean, these people are 74, 75 years old, and they can hold an audience of thousands. It's so difficult
That's amazing. Huh.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this thing I have also observed when we do theaters. Okay. In theater
Yeah,
also, we say that, do not get up, do not use your phone, do not
yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah,
come, all those things, because it disturbs the performance,
yeah,
है ना? And it
yeah.
does when you're performing on the
It does.
stage. That's
Yeah,
one thing. Acha, when you're talking about the live music, now I had a question.
yeah,
Is it true that, and that happens in theater a lot, ऐसा जनरली बोलते
yeah,
हैं कि when you're speaking, ठीक है, जो सामने
yeah.
बैठा है और जो पीछे बैठा है उसको तुम्हारी आवाज सेम पहुंचनी चाहिए. इट शुड नॉट बी कि जो पीछे बैठा है उसको सुनाई नहीं दे रही है एंड जो सामने बैठा है इट्स
Correct.
टू लाउड फॉर हिम. इज इट द सेम विथ
Yeah.
ऑर्केस्ट्रा एज वेल, दैट दे टेंड, और इज इट लाइक अ सिटिंग जोन जहां पे आप बैठोगे तो तुमको परफेक्ट सुनाई देगा, और इज इट लाइक यू सिट एनीवेयर एंड यू विल हैव द सेम एक्सपीरियंस?
Okay. So, yeah, that's a good question. So there's two types of orchestra, right? So one type of orchestra are, there's a very famous orchestra called "And the Waltz Goes On." It was
Hmm.
performed by Andre Rieu in Vienna. Okay. And
Hmm.
it was that waltz was written by Anthony Hopkins. Okay.
Hmm.
And he performed that in a small room, in a very, in not, I wouldn't say small, but like a normal sized room, right? So in those kind of things, sound is not an issue, right? If you're sitting wherever it is. Now what I've seen is if I go to an orchestra, so there's if we consider orchestra like Hans Zimmer, right? उसका भी
Hmm.
orchestra ही है. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a modern orchestra, but वो orchestra ही है. And
Hmm.
यार वो तो मतलब मैं क्या ही बताऊं मतलब that I think उसको देखना and to see him conduct is is out of I don't know क्या है मतलब it's very difficult to describe all those things because that guy lives up to what he is. He is a legend.
Yeah.
क्योंकि now so yeah so we were discussing so he plays in an auditorium of thousands, right?
Hmm.
But people like him, people like Andre Rieu. So how Andre Rieu checks the sound, right? He has a golf cart. Okay. Where he's from. So he's from a city called Maastricht in Amsterdam. Oh, sorry, in
Hmm.
the Netherlands. What he
Hmm.
does is, when the sound check is going on, वो पूरा पीछे जाएगा अपनी golf cart से वो ना golf cart पे घूमता रहता है as the orchestra is rehearsing. He
Hmm.
makes sure that everyone hears exactly the same because
Wow.
that's what people are paying for, right?
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
paying for if you're far behind. I don't want to hear. Look, there's going to be some difference. I'm not denying that. But these kind of legends, right? They make sure that you're not missing it out. You're not
That's
missing it out
awesome.
on piece and Aditya, the amount of discipline, yeah,
Hmm.
the audience has. Now,
Hmm.
one moment, even take it any orchestra. You take Hans Zimmer, you take any kind of orchestra.
Hmm.
They're going to be especially for Hans Zimmer जब बज रहा होगा ना कोई it's going to be so silent generally like मतलब वो होगा and
Hmm. Hmm.
people hoot like crazy when it when it gets over. I'm
Insert.
talking about
Hmm.
even in classical music. I'm not talking about like लोगों को लगता है यार classical music में आराम से बैठे रहते हैं चुपचाप है ऐसा नहीं है. People hoot like crazy when it gets over. But as soon as the hooting is over, यार सब इतने there's so much amount of discipline and respect people have for music. I'm talking about from my experiences that I've seen. Look how rock orchestras are different, but
Yeah.
orchestral orchestras, I'm amazed by the discipline people have when they listen to this kind of music. मतलब एक moment बिल्कुल पिन ड्रॉप साइलेंस होगी मतलब पिन ड्रॉप साइलेंस होगी. तुम्हारा अगर एसएमएस की भी टोन है ना वो तक पूरे ऑडियंस को सुनाई दे देगी अगर तुमने
हाँ.
ऑफ नहीं रखा है तो. But
हाँ.
of
हाँ.
course, the next minute when the piece gets over, they're on the top of
Yeah.
the voice. So, to come back on the question, now I think they've started with for the sound and जो आ गई है technology to try to make sure that the sound
Hmm.
is not deviated from the distance. उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ना चाहिए.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what
Hmm.
people, I think, that's what orchestras are aiming for.
Okay. Makes sense here. Okay. Um, अच्छा एक और चीज we have talked a lot about orchestra, the pieces,
Yeah,
the people, but I also want to know about your life because you said that you have been involved बचपन से, yeah, from a young age, I would say, to
yeah,
understand
yeah,
these pieces and everything. How has listening to classical music, and I would categorize it
yeah,
as a form of classical music,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah, yeah.
how that has changed you as a person, or like, do you see yourself influenced by your taste of music in classical music? How does that?
Huh. So, we'll take a step back over here from classical music to the type of music I used to listen to. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I still do. Um, we are like, I am very influenced by classic rock, classic country music. Okay. And these, like you were saying, in personality, right?
Hmm.
So I'll tell you an example. Okay. आजकल, like, I listen to artists आजकल भी ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब कम है. But I listen to artists from the 60s to the 90s. I'm talking about
Ah,
Simon and Garfunkel. These people,
wow.
I
Uh,
think, again, an underrated duo. I'll tell you, guys. Oh man, I mean, I can go on and on about these kind of artists. I'll tell you why, Aditya. यार ये लोग ना
हाँ
उन टाइम पे ऑटो ट्यून तो होता ही नहीं था कुछ.
हाँ
मतलब there was
एग्जैक्टली या
nothing called as what is auto tune, right? You
या
listen to these people, यार. You listen to them singing. Simon and Garfunkel, मेरे को जितनी टेक्निकल म्यूजिक की नॉलेज है ना, what used to happen is, uh, Paul Simon used to, so it's they're a duo, and Paul Simon used to sing in a single note. थोड़ा बहुत वो करता था, same गाना, and Art Garfunkel used to change his pitch. तो
हम्म
बहुत बहुत ही वियर्ड, मतलब मैंने जब सुना ना,
हम्म
देखा इसके बारे में, मैंने कहा ये क्या है. एंड यू लिसन टू देयर सॉन्ग्स यार, म्यूजिक इतना कम होगा ना यार आदित्य, वो अपने
हाँ
वॉइसेस से क्या कर देते हैं यार. मतलब I'll show you one thing. We'll talk about this later as well.
श्योर
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. Blurred है क्या?
थोड़ा सा जूम आउट करो
Okay. Take note of those.
या आई कैन जस्ट सी हाँ यस
Okay.
यस
So this is a record that I have at Simon and Garfunkel. This is a concert
वाओ
in this in
सेंट्रल पार्क
that happened in Central Park in New York in I
न्यूयॉर्क
think it
हाँ
was 1981. Yeah.
हम्म
Yes, you see the audience and इतना डिफरेंट कॉन्सर्ट था ना. वाई? बिकॉज यार ऐसा लग रहा था दो लोग आए हैं और बस गा रहे हैं, मतलब म्यूजिक इतना कम. जो आवाज वाली चीज होती है ना यार आदित्य,
हाँ
इतनी
हाँ
मुश्किल, मुझे लगता है इट्स वन ऑफ द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट थिंग्स टू क्रैक. तो आर्टिस्ट लाइक साइमन एंड गार्फंकल, जॉन डेनवर, अगेन अ वेरी वेरी बिग आर्टिस्ट, कंट्री रोड्स, टेक मी होम, सबने सुना है उसको.
यप
क्वींस, फ्रेडी मर्क्यूरी, ही इज समथिंग
ही
एल्स
इज
डूड.
गॉड ही इज
यार ये
गॉड
लोग, यार ये
सीरियसली
लोग, he's they're on a different level altogether. कि
श्योर
again, देखो कुछ टाइप ऑफ ऑटो ट्यून वगैरह जो भी है होती होगी, but you listen to them singing without them, without these things.
यप
आजकल मैं कंपेयर करूं क्रिस मार्टिन फ्रॉम कोल्ड प्ले, ही इज वेरी सिमिलर.
श्योर
वो आता है. अडेल, आई थिंक अडेल इज एन आर्टिस्ट ऑफ आर्टिस्ट. उसकी आवाज मतलब बहुत कम है. आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू, मतलब मैं कुछ आर्टिस्ट का नहीं बता रहा हूँ, बिकॉज देयर आर लॉट ऑफ आर्टिस्ट हु से दैट वी यूज ऑटो ट्यून, बट जो पुराने आर्टिस्ट थे ना यार,
हम्म
that so that originality and that things, I was always intrigued by these things. Okay.
ओके
And मुझे लगता था, okay, one more artist, Linkin Park, हम सब ने सुना है, Chester Bennington.
यप
Again, that guy could scream, roar like a metalhead, and he could sing songs like Shadow of the Day, which is, normal stuff. But so these kind of artists, Simon and Garfunkel, I would say the songs like Sound of Silence, Scarborough
हम्म
Fair, all these songs are, यार ये क्या गाने हैं, मतलब मैं क्या ही बताऊं. मुझे मुझे नहीं पता ये कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस करे हैं मुझे इन टर्म्स ऑफ माय पर्सनालिटी. दैट्स एंड Hans Zimmer, all these people,
हम्म
they help me in my personality. They help you in a lot of self-realization parts. I'll tell you why.
राइट
Orchestral music, especially orchestra music, feels like listening to meditation. It's like that. बहुत
यप
ज्यादा ना, you get to introspect a lot, these kind of things. And
हम्म
again, the old artists, I don't know what impact they've had on me. I really don't know. मेरे को लगता
हम्म
है कि मैं उसी एरा में ना बॉर्न होना चाहिए था, या था, या मुझे नहीं पता क्या था. लेकिन
हाँ
इन काइंड ऑफ आर्टिस्ट, व्हेन आई लिसन टू देम, आई फील कि यार they were so original in what they were doing,
या
and that's what influenced me as a person. I don't know. And growing up, I mean, I'm not I'm just 26 years old, but in school and college, growing up, I couldn't find these kind of people that much कि यार जो इस type of music सुनते थे. It was just in really abhi stages of life that I've met these kind of people, except I'm talking about my cousins who listen to that kind of
हम्म
music. And
हम्म
अब तो लगता था यार क्या, मतलब मैं ही सुनता हूँ क्या है, मतलब ऐसा क्या है कि यार कोई सुनता ही नहीं है. और बट व्हेन यू एक्चुअली स्टार्ट टू रियलाइज एंड लिसन कि यार these music these types of music did have an impact on what I am today, on my confidence.
राइट
I don't know, मतलब it's very some the music is very difficult to define sometimes in words what it does to you. I always
या
say that sports is one thing that unites a nation, but music is one thing, यार, it unites people. मुझे लगता है, मतलब
श्योर
music doesn't it has no language barrier. तुम मतलब यार मैं ब्राजीलियन म्यूजिक तक सुन चुका हूँ. So you see orchestral music, it has no language in it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I'm saying is all these things, they do shape up your personality of who you are. It can be, I don't know, you want to call it honest, you want to call it um I don't know how you are. Of course, what you listen to, I think it really influences you. मतलब
Hmm.
as simple as I'm not stereotyping it, but people generally who listen to techno or rap music अलग से दिख जाते हैं बहुत easily मुझे.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very common thing, right? I'm just saying.
Agree.
So,
Yeah.
music, and orchestra music जो सुनता है, I think the intellectual things of it, your brain, I think, because you get affected by empathy, sympathy so much that
Yeah.
it increases your emotional quotient a lot. That's what I think.
That's a great
And
thing,
that's what
huh?
I've seen and that's what I've seen people who listen to orchestral music as well. It's a common thing that I've seen. They have their I think that's what you call it, right? Emotional quotient or emotional. I mean, I know there's some
Yes.
it's something
EQ.
that's
Yeah.
what you call it. EQ. So that's high of these kind of people generally. So पता
Hmm.
नहीं यार, मतलब it works differently for different people, but that's what this kind of music does to you, I think.
Awesome, man. So many good points and so many recommendations on orchestra music, which I will actually put in my summary so that people can
हाँ
go and
बिल्कुल.
listen and we can
I
give them
would
the YouTube
any day,
links.
I would any day recommend people to listen to Simon and Garfunkel. सबने सुना होगा उसके गाने. मिसेस रॉबिन्सन बहुत फेमस गाना है. साउंड ऑफ साइलेंस बहुत फेमस गाने हैं उसके. बट
Sure.
सॉन्ग्स लाइक स्कारबोरो फेयर, द बॉक्सर, बहुत आई मीन यार आवाज सुनते रह जाओगे. जॉन डेनवर, कंट्री रोड सबने सुना है. बट उसके ना
Love it.
एक बहुत ही रेयर एल्बम है. मैं उसके वाइनल के बारे में बताऊंगा, बहुत मुश्किल से मिला है. एंड उसमें गाने हैं ऑल ऑफ माई मेमोरीज, यू गॉट फ्लाई अवे, and I can talk about just all of my memories, that song, the picture it paints in my head, just on like I can just talk about that song for 10 minutes, kind of picture it paints in your head. So
That's awesome. Hmm.
बहुत गाने हैं यार इस टाइप के. एंड ऑफ कोर्स डिफरेंट पीपल गेट अफेक्टेड बाय डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ म्यूजिक एंड डिफरेंट काइंड्स. कई लोग बहुत लिरिक्स पर ध्यान देते हैं. मतलब I do listen to lyrics, but what I generally think is the music, and of course it can't be weird lyrics होते हैं आजकल, but it's different type of music that connects people to it.
Surely.
That's what I would say. Recommendations तो definitely यार मेरे ख्याल से ये इन सब के गाने तो सबको सुनने चाहिए.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.